How sad would that be? They have Duffy. I think they're fine today. Duffy's look good.
Almost entirely.
Well, you say that.
And Danny Duffy just gave up a 2-run home run.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Number between 1 and 4.
3.
3 is the Kansas City Royals. We've talking about the Royals for a long time.
Let's keep it that way. 2.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
You gonna play this game?
Sure. What game is this? Is this the sadness game? Because I'm there.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Once again, a special edition of what we are lovingly calling Almost Entirely Royals, as we get you ready for the first time of the first game of this I-70 series between the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. All in the family, all in the state of Missouri. Almost entirely what we'll be talking about until first pitch in about 45 minutes. A two-legged Almost Entirely Sports for you tonight with a little Sporting Kansas City show as the filling of the Oreo. I'm Joshua Brisco, Rudy Salazar on the other side of the glass. We're here from 6 to 7 to talk a little bit about this game and where the Royals stand right now. Then we will step aside to allow Nate Bucati and friends to take the wheel for the Sporting Kansas City show at 7. That'll take you till 8 o'clock, and then we'll be back again from 8 to 10 with more Almost Entirely Sports non-Royals edition for those 2 hours. We'll have Seth Kaiser of the Chief of the North newsletter, the Times Ours podcast, The Athletic, all of those things. He will join us at 9 tonight. If you have, by that point, maybe you've faded on your interest in Cardinals Royals. We'll see where that game takes us, but we will take you up until first pitch here, chat a little while longer, and then hand you over to the sporting show before a little more Almost Entirely Sports after that. But we sit here now, and we talked about this last night, of course. You've got a 500 Royals team with an unflattering run differential from that stretch. It's not the way you would necessarily script your way to 500, particularly whenever you've seen where the Royals have succeeded and where they have struggled so far, particularly in their starting pitching rotation. They won behind a really fun debut, or I guess a really fun return debut of Zach Greinke in Game 1, and then you get a low-scoring defensive extra inning extravaganza. Yeah, I'll say it was an extravaganza in Game 2 on the back of Brad Keller. Those two starts went pretty well for this team. You're not necessarily expecting nothing but dingers from this lineup, but you got a quality start, not by literal measurements, I don't believe, but you got good starts from Zach Greinke and Brad Keller in Games 1 and 2. And then the pitching became a problem. We talked about the damage that was done to that draft class in Game 3, where all of a sudden I was 15 minutes late to the beginning of that game. Whenever I turned on my TV, Chris Bubich was no longer pitching. It was 2-0, and then about 30 seconds later, it was 6-0. You have your tough outing following that up there from Jackson Kowar and Brady Singer. Really a rough day for those three altogether. And then Carlos Hernandez in Game 4 puts out a by comparison, a better effort than what you saw the day before, but not great work. Just at least he got through it all. That's sort of been, I think, the biggest, most important narrative in terms of where this team can ultimately end up is going to fall on the backs of the pitching staff. We'll talk about Bobby Witt. We can talk about how Adalberto Mondesi can move the ceiling of this lineup. A couple interesting, just a little thing today. It's different on behalf of the Royals lineup. I'll give you that here in a minute as well. But the definitive question today is what's going to happen when Daniel Lynch takes the hill. This might be the only thing that really big picture matters from this game. There's a lot we know about what this team can do defensively behind their pitchers. The lineup is still a question mark in a couple of places. where Bobby Witt Jr. has some great moments, but he's not, necessarily a fully comfortable big league hitter at this point, which makes sense. It's been one series. Then you have your questions throughout the rest of the lineup of, what can Hunter Dozier do with a healthier start? What is Salvador Perez going to do on the back of an incredible season last year? You can go name by name through them. But if the young pitching by the halfway point this year is just disaster on top of disaster, the franchise is suddenly in a disastrous place. If this young pitching by the All-Star break, and it's not a lot of time, and I preach patience as often as I can with baseball, because the only thing you can do with baseball is be patient. But if we get to the halfway point and the young pitching has totally turned a corner, Brady Singer's got a third pitch, maybe Jackson Kowar makes his way back to the big leagues, which we talked about last night, maybe his fastball finds a little wiggle somewhere. Maybe Chris Bubich rights the ship after a really tough start in Game 1 for him. Maybe Daniel Lynch goes out tonight and throws 6 clean frames. We'll hear from Mike Matheny on Daniel Lynch in a second. I'm not even... If Daniel Lynch had a no-hitter after 6, I'm not sure he'd see the 7th tonight, depending on the pitch count and everything. The shortened spring training gave these pitchers less time to get into their groove. It's another reason that you shouldn't fundamentally overreact to what you see in these first couple of starts from any of these guys. But to no fault of his own, Daniel Lynch has a real magnifying glass on top of him tonight. Again, not just in the world where these young pitchers are going to matter in a major way, but in a world where it's been nothing but bad news to the start of this season. Again, any 4-game stretch out of 162 would be a terribly foolish thing to extrapolate another 158 games of data from. I'm not advocating for that. But think about either side of the Daniel Lynch coin tonight. If he goes out and gives you something promising, you say, okay, you know what? Maybe the panic button is a little bit premature to be wailing on it just yet. Let's see what he can give us. If he rolls out there and we don't see him in the 3rd inning, it's... You know the trash compactor scene in Star Wars? Of course you do.
Never heard of it.
Well, you and Alec Lewis can go talk about how you don't know what I'm referring to.
Is that the one with Spock?
Yes, but you already now know more about that than Alec does. That's a deep cut from when we had Alec on last week. He doesn't know anything about Star Trek, which is strange. I don't know a lot about Star Trek, but I know a little bit about Star Trek. Alec couldn't name a character. Just say Spock and you're good. I wonder if we asked Alec to do like say, hey, can you do the little Star Trek hand gesture? If he would just flip us off.
Live long and prosper.
That's actually what it is, right?
Yeah, that's what the handshake means. Or
yeah.
Not the handshake, but the hand
the little gesture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Alec would know any of that. But
that's
why he covers the Royals and not Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm confident he'd say like thank you. Because he's just a nice guy, but he would have no idea that that's what that was. He'd just be like, oh. So
you think he'd assume
that's
an
is... interesting way. No, I just mean like if you gave the hand signal then also said live long and prosper, I think he would just be like, oh, in his head, it's like, oh, that's a weird way to say, I hope things are good for you. But yeah, sure, thanks, man.
I wish I would have tested that. We did sound off together on 41. If I would have walked up and just been like, what's up, man? Live long and prosper. If I said live long and prosper as he left, I wonder what he would have thought for his drive home.
You should have wore a Star Trek outfit for that show.
I don't have one of those. I'm not that deep into it.
I'm stunned.
Never been a big Star Trek guy.
I just thought you'd be prepared, that's all.
Almost entirely Royals. We're earning our namesake. So I don't know. I don't want to sit here and like be an alarmist again off of 4 games, but also all we have so far. It's not just these 4 games of this season. It's also, oh, this looks bad to worse than what we saw last year, and there were already issues in what we were seeing last year. Daniel Lynch if you just look at the stat line from what Daniel Lynch did last year, 15 starts, a 5.69 ERA, not particularly nice.
That's pretty nice.
You would not look at a guy who, had, what was his strikeout to walk ratio here? 55 to 31
Not that nice.
in 15 starts. Again, a near 6 ERA. But Rudy, correct me if I'm wrong. It feels like you're our only hope, Daniel Lynch. Please, Obi-Wan Danielski.
He did have, to his credit, a stretch last year where he did it was similar to Kowar's in the sense that, right, like he had his struggles, he got sent down, he got called back up, but the difference was he actually pitched well for a stretch. Then it did seem like his arm he got a little tired, which is understandable, right? Like,
sure,
those guys had not pitched the year before, and all of a sudden in September he started to wear down a little bit. But there was, at least like for him,
a glimmer.
There was that glimpse of, okay, that could be it. Which is, from a rookie, I think that's all you're really asking for. It is not always realistic to expect any rookie to come in and be Shohei Ohtani, right?
Correct.
Like you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like but you want to see a reason why that guy is there. Like, to Brady Singer's credit, he has given us a little bit of that. Unfortunately, Jackson Kowar really hasn't given us any of that, but we did that yesterday.
We've done that show recently, and if I had to guess, we'll probably do that show again. But you're right. He has that stretch where he got hit plenty all year. He gave up some hits, but like you have that stretch where that glimmer shines through, and you go, well, you know what? If this guy is in there, this guy can give you. I wanted to see what the best outing was. Mid-August against the Astros. Starts 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. That there against a good lineup.
I was gonna say, a good hitting team.
Yes. And he actually ended up with his 3 starts in a row there were Yankees, Astros. Got hit a little more against the Yankees, but he gave up 2 earned runs in 12 total innings in back-to-back starts against the Astros. That's where you go, maybe that's the guy.
You can get excited behind that.
And that is the thing that I hope for tonight. And again, not demanding this of him. This is not going to be the moment that he is either made or broken as a starter in this rotation. But you want to see that glimmer tonight. Back to the thing that set us off on the Star Wars Star Trek thing. We knew the trash compactor, and we're really early in that scene. But you just look around a little bit, and it started last year, and then it stopped for an off season. Now you just saw the motor. You just heard the motor start running again. Every time one of these young pitchers goes out there and looks out of place, not just not great, not just not super sharp, not just like not an ace or even a number 2 or maybe even a number 3, but when one of these young guys goes out there and looks overmatched, out of place, out of ideas, nothing different, nothing creative, the walls start to come in a little.
And you get named pitching coach. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty good.
I was gonna try to infer my way over to that. But yeah, I mean,
it's pretty good. The second you said just not creative, just Cal.
That was
Cal just popped right in my head. I was like, yep, that's all I need.
Which is crazy since you're such a big Kentucky guy, but apparently you hate Cal. I'm glad you said that. Rudy hates Cal.
I don't hate any Cal. I just think one Cal should probably not have his job, and
they got beat by St. Peter's, man. I get it.
I think the other Cal is perfectly good at his job.
I get it, man. You're like all those Kentucky post-game show callers. You might have been on one of those post-game shows. I get it. You want the Wildcats to go ahead and move on from Coach Cal, and you think that the Royals ought to give their Coach Cal lifetime extension. That's very brave of you, Rudy.
We are a football school. And the Kansas City's a football school, too.
Matter of speaking, I would say so.
We don't have time for basketball and baseball.
We have time for basketball pretty consistently, but on the
name
collegiate
one
level.
team in this area that was good at basketball?
The Kansas City Jayhawks.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about them.
Just ask Mark Emmert.
Thinking downtown stadium or
Yeah.
Westport,
I
maybe
think-
a little college area.
I think we put the Kansas City Jayhawks actually in what will be a, by that point, condemned Arrowhead Stadium because they're playing in Overland Park.
I like it.
Put New Arrowhead like just off the balcony of the station here. We can just hop over. Imagine
Wouldn't be bad.
Imagine how easy it'd be to go cover some press conferences that way.
Our life would get easier in some ways, maybe more difficult in others. The parking around here might suck. But also, we're probably getting in early enough, and we're here late enough that we're probably missing that rush.
I would like for all stadiums. Here's my personal stadium take. I'd like for all stadiums to be within a zip line of where I'm at most times, either home or work, either one.
That's fair.
Just let me zip line over there. I'm just kind of worried about this pitching staff. I was worried about it last year. This to circle back on the how early are we going to talk about Kyle Eldred scale, which, for this season right now, it would be wild to fire anyone 4 games down, 158 to go. It would be insane. But we're not 4 games into this pitching coach, these young pitchers, etc. At this point, the Royals' young pitchers and the person who coaches them most directly need to prove that things are getting better, not just that things aren't getting worse. And right now, I don't know why you would lock in that belief.
Yeah, I mean, I was essentially going to make that point. The big difference is, even though, Brady Singer has been up with this club every day since the start of 2020, he has only pitched once every 5 days, right? Mm-hmm. But again, still,
a lot of time left.
Plenty. Those guys have pitched. A lot of those guys have pitched plenty, and they still have a lot of starts to make. The one thing that is consistent, though, every single day, because it's not Brady Singer every single day, it's not Brad Keller every single day, but it is Cal Eldridge every single day. And we've seen him for a while now. So while, again, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know how much a great pitching coach really matters in baseball. I'll be honest.
Also fair, sure.
I don't really know. My guess is I think all baseball coaches do, a great coach, whether it's manager, hitting coach, pitching coach, don't necessarily have a huge impact. I think bad ones can have a pretty big impact, right? Like I think a bad manager has a much bigger impact on a team than a good manager does, because so much of it at the end of the day does come down to the players. But I do think bad philosophies, right? Just again, I have no idea if the Royals have approached. Again, I'm just banging on that Brady Singer drum. No idea if they've approached Brady Singer about their pitch. I would assume they have. I would hope they have.
They have to have talked about it, right?
You would think.
That's been
but
discussed.
Also, what if they're just kind of if Cal's just hey Brady, just do you, do your thing. That's bad pitch coaching. That's not good. I don't know. Again, don't know if that's the case or not. But we've seen a lot of Cal, and we've not seen so far any young pitchers develop. Now, to be fair, under Dayton Moore, we really haven't seen very many.
Absolutely,
and basically no young pitchers develop. There are only 2 under Dayton Moore. Unfortunately, one of them passed away very early with Giordano Ventura, and we don't know how the rest of his career would have turned out. Right? Mm-hmm. He won a World Series with this team, though. Very talented. It seemed like he was trending in the direction of fully figuring it out, but we don't know.
Yeah.
And Danny Duffy, who has been a fine Major League Baseball pitcher, right? A legitimate MLB starter. And that's it. That's the best.
And not for lack of drafting or for lack of trying.
Yeah.
Those attempts, the swings have been in there. But for the Royals pitchers, those swings have largely been making solid contact and then flying out to deep left field, finding a little patch of grass to land into.
And really, a lot of those guys before this group never even got to the big leagues, right? It's not even that there was a lot of guys that got to the big leagues and they failed. Most of those guys just never got to the big leagues.
The Royals have more names that you click on in their draft history and you go, oh boy, whatever happened to him? Not guys that you go, oh boy, remember when he made it to the majors and got shelled for 6 months? It is a lot of fizzles. And so that again, for the tie back to tonight's game against the Cardinals, Daniel Lynch making his first start of the year, I think he has pressure on him that is not necessarily his fault. Mike Matheny did talk a little bit about the expectations surrounding Daniel Lynch as he prepares to make his first start of the season tonight, and noted on the front end that, again, with that shortened spring training, the expectations for everyone's first start are a little bit different.
Yeah, we expect them all to go out, and right now none of them are built up to go a complete game. So we're going to have to continue to watch, just like we watched every other starter up until this point. But really happy with the progression he's made. Every single one of our guys, as I watched them through this spring, I can tell you they got better. There's still just going to be some lumps that we're going to have to fight our way through. But Daniel, to me, made some considerable improvements in the consistency of how he used his lower half and his mechanics, and just was extremely good of these things that we're talking about, attacking the zone. But it's also a different animal once you get out there on a major league mound, and you can't help, because you're human, that your heartbeat's going to pick up a little bit, and trying to keep that under control to where you aren't trying to do too much that then results in pitches that you didn't want to make. So it's part of this game, and we're just continuing to give these guys opportunities to fight their way through it. Once they figure it out, get out of the way, because I like where they all are.
One of the last things they're saying that they're going to keep giving these guys chances to battle through it. Definitely. Like, for sure. You have to. That is the point of this season, is to let these guys go out there, and whatever happens, cool. Believe me, I am not fighting against that. I would rather watch every one of those guys go out there and take their lumps and try their stuff than watch the Royals go bring in some Mike Minor, Like, Mike Minor starts, didn't do anything for me. You're not going to do anything for me in the future. Greinke's a little different, partially because nostalgia, partially because I'm buying into the idea of having a veteran who could do something for these young pitchers on the staff, and also partially because you might as well have you'd like to have an adult in your rotation, right?
He's also skilled,
right?
Like,
still good.
He's still
true.
Good pitcher, and not that Mike Minor. You look at some of his other numbers, right? He wasn't as bad as say the ERA was, but there's a difference between Zach Greinke and Mike Minor.
There just is. there just is. If it's for the fun factor or to make you feel like you're playing to win today or whatever, for any number of reasons. Also, it would be different if, frankly, and again, I'm even saying this for Zach Greinke. Think about how I feel about every other veteran. There's not a veteran pitcher towards the back end of his career that the Royals could have signed that would have made me more happy than Zach Greinke. That guy doesn't exist. They could have signed an active ace, and I would be like, oh, sweet. But anything less than that, Greinke is the perfect signing for this team. I'm thrilled that he's here. With that being said, I would feel differently if he was blocking someone who was ready for their shot. Right now, the thing that spooks me is I don't know how many of these guys are actually ready to be here right now. Again, Jackson Kowar came up, got shelled, went back down again. They have said it on multiple occasions. Maybe he just needs a little more time to cook. For the specifics of all of these young guys, though, the other thing in there from Matheny that I thought was interesting, he said every single one of these guys got better throughout spring training and getting here now. Obviously, your manager's not going to come up and say every single one of these guys got worse or they're all the exact same guys as they were last year when they weren't good enough. Your manager's going to say that.
All of our players have downgraded.
They've all, at best, kept their head above water.
They weren't working out this offseason. They just said, bleep it.
Worst shape of their life. But if that's something your manager is willing to say in public, which, again, pretty much the only option for him, but I don't feel bad saying this now because Mike Matheny said it. If every single one of these guys got better, you'd better be ready for them to start proving that to be true. That is where the emphasis of all of this is going to land, and rightfully so. Eventually, you got to show it. Doesn't have to be tonight. Doesn't have to be Daniel Lynch making his first start of this year. But this is going to be the storyline, the thread that we pull at for the entirety of this season until we either are seeing evidence of that positive slope for these guys or until we give up and then training camp arrives. But the Royals are going to go as far as this young pitching group does, not just for 2022, but for years to come. That's what makes this stretch so high stakes for this team. It's not just are they going to be good this year or not. It's are these young guys going to be in a position where they can carry this rotation in the near future? And that's a question that you can't answer from spring training games or minor league games. So these games, like the one you're going to watch tonight, or not, and listen to Almost Entirely Sports instead, up to you.
Sporting KC show first.
Yeah.
You gotta get that good soccer.
But these games that you're going to read about in the newspaper the next day really matter because that's the stuff that hangs in the balance. We'll take a break here on Almost Entirely Sports. Part 1. Part 2 will be after the Sporting KC show. As Rudy just mentioned, we're with you here for another 30 minutes. We'll come back and give you a little more from Mike Matheny, and then we'll wrap up the hour, give you the Sporting Kansas City show, and then more Almost Entirely Sports from 8 to 10 tonight as well. Seth Kaiser will join us at 9 to talk about Chiefs draft stuff, wide receiver draft crushes, all of that goodness. But whenever we come back, more Royals on what we're calling Almost Entirely Royals here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Aristocrat Motors Mercedes-Benz is proud to announce they've been named a Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Silver Laurel Dealer for 2021. They'd like to take this opportunity to thank the entire Aristocrat Mercedes-Benz team for this award, and to thank you, the loyal customers, for your continued confidence in the Aristocrat Motors brand. Without your long-standing support, this would not be possible. Aristocrat Motors, I-35 and Shawnee Mission Parkway, or online at aristocratmotors.com.
Kansas City Golden Gloves presents the Kansas City Golden Gloves Annual Regional Championship, April 21st through the 23rd. This 3-day regional championship is Kansas City's longest-running sporting event. It's amateur boxing at its best. You can get your tickets now at kcgoldengloves.com. The Kansas City Golden Gloves Annual Regional Championship, April 21st through the 23rd at Memorial Hall. Doors open at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. first bell. Tickets are available now at kcgoldengloves.com.
Did you know that investing in real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth and create passive income? Whether you're a seasoned real estate investor or looking for your first investment opportunity, A1 Mortgage has the product for you. If your new investment property will cash flow, it's a go. This is eligible for up to 30 unit properties, no income qualifications, no track record or rental history necessary. Call A1 Mortgage at 816-822-8888. That's 822-8888. As long as your monthly rental income exceeds your monthly payment, you cash flow and it's a go. Let the experts at A1 Mortgage help you build your wealth. Call A1 Mortgage 816-822-8888. That's 822-8888. Or apply online at a1mortgage.com.
A1 Mortgage, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
A1 Mortgage Group, LLC, a Kansas and Missouri licensed mortgage company, NMLS 268370. Terms and conditions apply. Subject to change without notice.
Are you losing your hair and feel like you don't know what to do? We are here to help you. Hi, I'm Dr. Spencer Egan with Acentus Hair Restoration. We can help you get your hair back using state-of-the-art robotic hair transplant technology. At Acentus Hair Restoration, we care about maintaining the hair you have and replacing the hair you've lost. Book your free consultation for a personalized plan and feel like you again. Call 913-914-5975 or visit kansascityhairtransplant.com.
As Kansas City weather shifts to rain along with some sun and more rain, I bet you're thinking about your roof. Greg Gurley here for Buck Roofing. If you've been putting off repair or replacement, use the company I recommend, Buck Roofing. For trusted residential and commercial roof repair or replacement, gutters too, in Kansas City and now in my favorite town, Lawrence, Kansas. It's Buck Roofing, online at rbuckroofing.com. Sleep well knowing Buck fixed the roof over your head.
Love fades, shoots, he misses, and Kansas will win. It's a banner for Kansas basketball.
The Kansas Jayhawks are the national champions.
The sixth banner at the University of Kansas.
Congratulations to Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks from America's largest all-sports radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
My favorite memory of this last run of Royals players is every time this year that I said they're going to be a 500 team, and then everyone yelled at me.
Of course you make it about you.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Talking to you for a little while longer ahead of the start of the 2022 edition of the I-70 series. The Royals and Cardinals begin their matchup tonight. Daniel Lynch on the mound for the Royals. Dakota Hudson on the mound for the Cardinals. For the Royals, there's one little noteworthy tweak in the starting lineup here. You won't catch it for a little while. Actually, he won't catch it. Salvador Perez is DHing. Spoiler alert. Whit Merrifield will lead off. He's in right. Bobby Witt Jr. hitting second from third. Andrew Benintendi hitting third and playing left field. Salvador Perez getting the DH spot tonight. He's still cleaning up. A quietly real slow start to the year for him. 0 through the first 3, right? And then gets back on the horse a little bit here as of late, but a slow going there as he's now hitting 125 on the year. But he's hitting ahead of Carlos Santana, who's 1 for 12 so far. He is starting at first base. Adalberto Mondesi is next. He's, of course, at shortstop. Also not hitting. Not many people on this roster hitting very well. I'm going to stop telling you who's not hitting well, and I'll go back through in a second and tell you who is hitting well. But Mondesi next up there in short. Michael A. Taylor in center field. Nicky Lopez hitting 8th tonight at second base as Cam Gallagher hits 9th as he's the one behind the plate. In terms of players hitting over 200 in this Royals lineup, Andrew Benintendi is the hottest bat by 100 miles in this lineup. He's 7 for 13, 4 RBI, and that homer, that's 538 for the average this year. Not 538 the stat, 538 for the batting average. And then Nicky Lopez is 4 of 10, batting a tight 400. Everybody else is 200 or lower, and that's Michael A. Taylor at 200, and everybody else is significantly lower than that.
You know who's not hitting bad? Cam Gallagher is not struggling.
Well, he's making his debut in the box tonight.
Still not struggling. My point stands correct. Cam Gallagher has not had a bad game hitting the baseball yet this year.
I'm glad you interrupted me reading stats for that.
That's a fact. I mean, that's a stat.
It's not.
The man has not got out at all in this season.
That now you've gotten it to be something that sounds like a stat. Correct. My stat is also 0 on the year so far, but in a world where Zach Greinke is a Kansas City Royal, Albert Pujols is back in St. Louis. We're talking about National League Baseball with a DH. He has not yet recorded a hit this year, but he is hitting 5th tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals. So then tomorrow we should get Zach Greinke pitching to Albert Pujols as Royals and Cardinals in the year of our Lord 2022.
Those two have probably went up against each other, a decent amount, because they crossed over for a while.
I would have to think so. And I wonder if they may have had a reason to cross up somewhere else at some point.
They were both in LA together.
That's
for a
true.
while.
They played together
different. Well, no, they did play together for a little bit because Greinke was an Angel for like half a season, but Greinke was obviously a Dodger.
Did they cross over?
I don't remember. They both did play for the Angels, but Greinke was there for a very, very short amount of time. But obviously, Greinke was in L.A. with the Dodgers when Pujols was in L.A. with the Heim.
Okay, I thought maybe I was the one that was about to get told they were smoking crack here. But what I was thinking was Greinke a Dodger for the 45 minutes that Pujols was a Dodger last year?
Pujols was a Dodger.
I wasn't even thinking about Zach Greinke spending a hot minute with the Angels.
I forgot that Pujols, no, because Greinke last year was with the Astros, but I forgot that Pujols was a Dodger.
The fun thing about players who play for legit 20 years is that the timeline is absolutely obliterated. Zach Greinke made 13 appearances as an Angel. I had completely. You said Zach Greinke was an Angel for a little bit, and whoa, that sounds right. But I cannot picture him in an Angels uniform. Completely impossible to me.
When the Brewers' run for a title failed, I remember basically they shipped Greinke to the Angels, who were on one of their hey, let's go win this thing. And if I remember right, I thought that they were going to, because man, that team was good that year, and they did not.
And then he was a Dodger, and then
an Astro.
Good grief.
Or no,
I
Diamondback.
thought he was a Diamondback for a while, and then an Astro. I felt like he was in LA more recently than that. What a wild career.
I just forget about that Diamondback stint.
Also incredible that he was on teams that we did this whenever we were talking about Greinke earlier, before or right after his first start. But the fact that he was on some really good baseball teams that got really close to World Series and he doesn't have a ring.
Never got it.
He spent time with the Dodgers, the Astros,
the Diamondbacks,
and the Royals, and never actually secured a ring. Crazy. Anyway, let's go back to Mike Matheny here and hear from the Royals skipper about what he's learned so far about this team to this point into this season. It's early, and just one series is in the books as they look ahead now to the Cardinals. But this is what Mike Matheny had to say whenever he was asked what he could take away from those first 4 games.
You guys got a little taste of what we can do, and a taste of things that we need to, as you said, let go and get better from. But overall, we're not surprised, right? We saw runs happen with things that we've talked about, and once it comes to our offense, once we start putting together the kind of bats that we can and doing the little things right, and then using speed like we did today, we've seen components of everything we want to. It's just the consistency of doing it day in, day out, inning by inning.
I want to believe in the idea that the lineup's going to get all figured out and they're going to hit together and play with some speed and stitch things together like they did in the finale of that series. We know at least the best version of the Royals offense is still to come because it has to have Nick Pratto in the lineup. Like it just has to. You want to believe in MJ Melendez, or at least maybe you eventually run into your log jam and you say, hey, we can let one of, maybe it's not one of those two guys, but we can let one of these prospects go for something.
Pratto, keep Santana.
Yeah, that would be the thing that I would hope that they would not be doing.
Goodness, though, like, I'm not saying like you need to make this like a move, 2-3 games into a season, but the when Santana, or the when bases loaded, the drop ball and Santana tried to get to second, he is so. I mean, he was never fast, but he is just so much slower now. He had all the time in the world to get to second. Not only should it not have been close, like he should have been safe, should have been close. He had all the time in the world.
I was probably more surprised than I should have been that Carlos Santana was not traded before the deadline last year, because it's the Royals and they've always been a little delusional about how close they are to contending, and then also confused about the pieces as to why they might be contending. He was not a highly...
He did start to struggle some, obviously, which plays a part in it.
Maybe trade him the first time you get a phone call about Carlos Santana. Yeah. But no, you're right. By the deadline itself, I don't know how much value was there. But I thought, okay, well, at least clear the path before the 2022 season starts. He is still here. And at this point, it's just we are no longer discussing trade value. We are discussing when you just call it a day. And that's not the place you want to end up with your investment at the end of it all.
I'm sure somebody would take him in a trade, but I mean, you're just getting the 27-year-old relief pitcher who's been in the minors for 8-9 years, who has the career area of 7, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you can. It's not always super hard to get, especially in baseball, to get players on the books, because you just have, every organization has 95% of that organization is literally just fodder. Right, like 95%.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right, you know what I mean. So You, every team just has all these players, especially guys who are just hanging on, looking for hope, that are just stuck in high A ball for their entire lives.
It's just funny because if you just get this same process through the rest of, for another couple months with Carlos Santana, generally I would 100% agree with you and say you find someone who has ever hit for power in this league, and someone will give you a low relief pitcher with a 7 ERA who's 28 years old already. And again, I still do agree with that as a concept. What would be the point of giving Carlos Santana the remaining chunk of his $10.5 million if you're another team? I was going to say, well, you have the
Royals are probably having to pay a decent amount of that too.
Right. If it's not a straight DFA, it's going to still come at a cash cost, because I had the thought of, well, DH in the National League, maybe. Well, he's not DHing here. The point here is that he is still a good defensive first baseman, and who you would like to believe is going to hit again, just like ever. It's exasperating. And also it's because I want the young guys to be here because I want to have something to look forward to. There is no world in which Carlos Santana is a productive member of the Kansas City Royals in 2024. There is no world in which Nick Pratto is not a contributing member of the 2024 Royals and things have gone well. I'm impatient. I'm an impatient baseball process guy. That I don't even mind putting out there. I can be patient over the course of a season, but I want to see the young guys soon. One little glimmer there, and again, the Royals are 500 right now. It's not the end of the world. It's just that young pitching has put a bad taste in your mouth. The lineup has not been very good. But Mike Matheny did talk about one of the things that I have been very excited to watch with this Royals team. And you can go all the way around the diamond, all the way over to Carlos Santana as well. Looking at the infield defense that they've been able to put out on the field so far has been a joy. And as Mike Matheny says here, it's something that you can afford to do whenever you're basically trotting out 3 shortstops playing side by side by side.
Yeah, I think the one unknown would be Bobby. And the more we get to look at him, even catching foul balls down the line or plays that he's making coming in. He made a couple fantastic plays. Had a nice turn up the middle. Mondi's been getting dirty and making nice diving plays. I mean, you basically have 3 shortstops on the infield covering a lot of ground, and it should help the aggressiveness of our pitchers. And let's make it very clear. I mean, these guys aren't going out trying to get behind in the count. It's what do we need to do to help them get through sometimes that first inning, sometimes whatever tough inning that they're in, and then to make quality strike pitches, and that comes with time. And I think they're real close to figuring it out, and then trusting the defense more. But until then, it's going to be a fight, and we know that they've got it in them.
Yeah, I mean, and Matheny alluded to this as well. I wouldn't say that. The problem with the pitching right now is that they've been too timid, to they're afraid of a ground ball, finding some grass. That's not the issue at hand. Some boring contact is something that most defenses can handle. Ultimately, I think the guy that this directly benefits maybe the most is Zach Greinke. We've talked about at this point in his career, I just sort of think he can keep batters in the infield, and then this infield is going to keep the ball in the infield as well. These young pitchers, you want them to have absolutely no thought anywhere in their mind about the defense behind them. Positively or negatively, probably, but certainly not negatively. You don't want them second guessing on any level what they can afford to put out there because they don't know if they can trust their defense. And that's awesome. This is a legitimately incredible infield defensively, and the Royals have built it stupendously. Ultimately, the pitching's going to be the pitching. The defense is going to raise the floor and the ceiling a little bit, I do think. You know that if you have this infield, there is some level to which even bad pitching, you're going to... Nicky Lopez is going to save you a couple runs on a tremendous defensive play that maybe a lesser second baseman would not have nabbed. If you're a ceiling mover, you might say, hey, you know what? Let's just get some ground balls out here, fellas, and let's make it infuriating to play the Kansas City Royals because you never get the lucky roll. That's all great. I'm here for all of that. I love that the defense is built this way. Ultimately, however, it's going to come back around to the pitching. Daniel Lynch will be the one on the mound for the Royals tonight. Again, some pressure there for a staff that to this point has not given you a lot to be excited about, specifically amongst those youngsters and not counting Zach Greinke and Brad Keller. So we'll see if Daniel Lynch can put together a quality start, maybe give you something to be excited about. Again, the lineup note tonight is that Cam Gallagher is catching, Salvador Perez DHing, Merrifield, Witt, Benintendi, Perez, Santana, Mondesi, Taylor, Lopez, Gallagher is your 1 through 9. We'll take a break here on Almost Entirely Sports and come back with a little more. Then the Sporting Kansas City show will be on after that, and then AES will return again from 8 to 10 tonight. So I'm not going anywhere. You shouldn't either.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But to cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the Windows PCs and tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get where you want to go. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
It's Deck Weather Kansas City, and you don't need to go anywhere. You can have it all right there in your very own backyard with a beautiful deck from All Weather Decks. If you have a vision for your backyard, All Weather Decks has the talent to bring your dream to life. All Weather Decks is a 23-time winner of the Angie's List Super Service Award, and they've probably helped one of your neighbors. Just check out the map link on their website, allweatherdecks.net. Give Cass and his team a call right now at 913-206-1974 or go online to allweatherdecks.net and relax.
More energy, better sleep, and so much happier. 40 pounds lighter and still going strong. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness has changed my life. 2 words, guys, it works. Tell your friends, tell your wife, tell anyone who wants to lose some weight and live a better life. Call or stop by for a free consultation. Mention 810 and get $100 off your startup fee. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness, 117th and Row in Leewood, or call 913-227-9150. Life is better with the feather.
Friday, April 15th is Fan Appreciation Night as the Mavericks take on their rival Wichita Thunder. Join the Mavs for the final home regular season game with extra games and promotions. The kids will love it. All fans receive a poster courtesy of Summit Litho, and kids wearing their youth sports gear can get 1 free ticket at the box office. If you haven't been this season, you'll love the fight in this team with future stars of the NHL. Get tickets now at kcmavericks.com.
Are you looking for a career change? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are hiring right now, and there's never been a better time to check those opportunities out. Go to 810WHB.com and click on the Community tab and search Job Connections. Great companies in our community need you right now. Companies like MJ Transportation, Amini's, Twin Peaks, and Easton Roofing. So check it out at 810WHB.com. 810 Job Connections, connecting you with your next career.
Keep your lawn looking sharp with Menard's huge selection of lawn and garden supplies. Get a clean edge around your gardens with Master Gardener Pro Lawn Edging. It blocks the spread of grass and weeds with strength and durability. All Master Gardener Lawn Edging is 11% off. Hurry in and get 11% off everything right now at Menard's. Good through April 16th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
I wonder if we could set up an elaborate role play scenario where we would just call in and give your best post-game question, and then I would be Ned Yost and try to answer them as well as I could.
With Joshua Brisco.
Talk about Sawyer's performance there in the third.
Don't ask me to talk about question. I'm bleeping Ned Yost.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Couple more minutes of Almost Entirely Sports Round 1 before we hand you over to the Sporting Kansas City show. They'll pick you up here in a few minutes, and then more AES following the Sporting Kansas City show. It's a 2-leg race, but I get so winded talking about baseball for an hour that I got to lay down and take a quick break between the two, and so I'm going to take an hour-long little respite, rest this voice of mine and soak up some Sporting Kansas City show, and then circle back around again. We'll do some Chiefs and some NFL draft previewing at 8 and 9. At 9, we'll do it with Seth Kaiser, who has been going through the draft class of wide receivers and taking a look at that entire group and seeing what he likes and who he likes and who he doesn't. And so far, you can read it in the Chief of the North newsletter. It's all been pretty fun so far. It's all been pretty good. I think regardless of who you like in this draft class, Chiefs fans will enjoy what Seth has to say.
Can you sometime ask him to add, wide receiver draft crush? Just go ahead and add Bobby Witt Jr.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the physical tool is
I would
clearly
love
there.
to see him break down some film of Bobby Witt Jr. Of course, gotta watch a baseball game, and get back to us on what he thinks he could do at wide receiver. And honestly, Seth it's easier for Seth than just about anybody in Kansas City to watch the Royals, because since he's out of market, he can just easily watch it on MLB TV. It might honestly be easier for Seth to watch the Royals than 90% of the city.
I'm going to just read something here from our friend Alec Lewis. He tweeted, Royals pitching coach Cal Eldred is not here tonight. He had a family emergency per the club. And I would just like to say, for everyone who listens to the podcast of this hour later on, that we just learned about that. And that I certainly hope, and Rudy certainly hopes, I'm going to speak for Rudy for once. We all certainly hope that whatever's going on in Cal Eldred's family is ultimately not serious and that it goes as well as possible.
I hope
I have heard nothing bad about him as a person, I don't think. And I wish him and his family the absolute best.
I hope the only personal problem he's dealing with right now is just having to find a new job. That was probably uncalled for, but, you know.
Rudy, I said I would speak for you. And very rarely, you should let me do that. Annie Rogers of the Star says, Royals pitching coach Cal Eldred had a family emergency per the club and will not be here tonight. Bullpen coach Larry Carter is the acting pitching coach.
Hope everything's all right.
And we wish him and his family the best. Don't we, Rudy?
Absolutely. He seems like I've never heard anything bad about him.
Just turn off your microphone.
Seems like a super nice guy.
Let's just get to 7. Let's just get to 7. We'll come back around at 8, and we'll see where your joke repertoire is at.
Him and Matheny, you know, they were both best mans at each other's weddings, so they obviously have a good relationship.
Hope
everything's good.
Hope that the whole organization is behind Cal Eldred. I'm sure they are. We wish him the best.
I mean, I would say recent history suggests that they definitely are.
And we hope that everyone is safe and okay. And that this goes well for him and that everyone is fine.
Absolutely.
Here, you want to not end on such a serious note? You know, the silver lining is that he didn't have to go to St. Louis. Ha, 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 ha.
Too soon, Josh.
Whoa, hold on.
No, it's
hold
good.
on. Maybe this is
any chance to trash St. Louis. I am always down for it.
Here's
and
my
their fake pizza.
Here, you just really told a specific line there. Here's my # most cancelable take. Here's how I'm not going to be allowed to be back on the air again in an hour whenever leg 2 of Almost Entirely Sports starts.
Please don't say you like emos.
No, I have not had it.
Oh, thank God.
No, I just have only had good experiences in St. Louis. That's my hottest take, and that is the thing that might get me in trouble as a Kansas Cityan.
It's because you're not like actually experiencing St. Louis.
Sure. Most of my trips to St. Louis have been driving in and going to a concert and then leaving either that night or the next day.
Yeah,
to be fair.
That's fine. Like you can have I'm sure there are plenty of decent things about St. Louis. It's just more of the things that they tout. It's just a load of crap.
Is that specifically the pizza and the toasted ravioli or whatever?
Yeah, and also like their baseball fans aren't that great.
Yeah, no, Cardinals fans.
Best fans of baseball. No.
Cardinals fans can be tough. Yeah, that can be a tough.
You're really not. You've just been fortunate to have a good team.
Right.
You haven't done bleep, Cardinals fans.
Okay. On the off chance that any Cardinals fans were going to come back around for the Chiefs talk,
like we did. You deserve to lose your football team. I stand by that.
They had to move the arch to L.A.
Dude, that arch is scary. If I've been up in it before,
yeah, I mean, I was
and
young,
you
but
feel it move.
Yeah,
it is terrifying. And I assume it was built by it obviously wasn't built by anybody from St. Louis, because otherwise it would have come crashing to the ground. It was probably made of like cardboard, like their pizza.
I think this whole segment, we're kind of a little no man's land in this segment, and I wondered where we would end up, and where we ended up is Rudy trying to get in trouble with anyone, everyone, all the time. I'm just my take is that I've not lived in St. Louis, that's true, but I've enjoyed myself, had a good time. Haven't eaten any of that questionable food, though. Maybe that would change my opinion on things. I don't know. I like weird food. We should do a St. Louis food taste test at some point. I'll give it an honest go, and Rudy can just immediately just chuck it out a window somewhere. We got our plan. Okay, here's what we're going to do, folks. Almost Entirely Sports is leaving. but just for a little while. Sporting Kansas City show is up next. That'll go an hour, and then right after that, it's going to be back with us again. We'll shift from baseball to football out of Chiefs Talk starting at 8, but the Sporting Kansas City show is next.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Whether you're looking for energy savings or updating your home office or man cave, One Stop Decorating is the place for beautiful energy-efficient window coverings. One Stop Decorating offers free in-home or virtual consultations, or you can come into one of their 3 beautiful showrooms to see all